And the proof is in the pudding. Today we are going to look at a actual study on longevity and see what their findings are. So this is going to really take us into the nuts and bolts of actual research and not just talking about it. But we've always said it's evidence based, and science has proven all this stuff. But I thought we could dive into longevity with an actual study. So today we are going to dive in and start looking at what the journals say. All right, shall we get going, ladies? Okay, there's lots of stuff in here. I wanted to start with a quote, because some of what you're going to see in the study kind of is reflected in this quote from Anne Wigmore. And Anne Wigmore was the founder of the Hippocrates Health Center. She was also very instrumental in some of our kind of health traditions and things. She was very big and one of the, I guess, forefathers on wheatgrass, and also on Rejuvelac, which is a quinoa fermented drink, which is actually very good and very easy to make. So her thing is, the food you eat can be either the safest and most powerful form of medicine or the slowest form of poison. And we're going to see some of that in action today. So the food you eat can be either the safest and most powerful form of medicine or the slowest form of poison. I can't even say it right. All right. So the study that we're going to look at is called Diet Strategies for Promoting Healthy Aging and Longevity, an Epidemiological Perspective. And it comes from the Journal of Internal Medicine. It's actually very recently published, and I think this study was published in October of 2023. So we're talking about something that's pretty recent, very recent. All right. So, and just if you would like a copy or like to get a hold of it and you can't find it, let me know, because I would love to share it with you if you're interested. Okay. You can also Google it online. And a fun fact that I didn't know until recently, if you just want to focus on research and papers that have been published and stuff, if you go to Google Scholar instead of just plain Google, you will get straight to those studies and things that have been done. So that takes you away from all of the advertising and stuff like that, and probably blog posts and things, and gets you right to the heart of the real thing. So this is where you can go. Instead of just going to Google, you could go to Google Scholar. And to get to Google Scholar, just Google Scholar. That will get you there. Okay, so longevity. So they're what they say about longevity is that basically, just kind of in the preamble, is that we have seen an increase in our life expectancy, and it is due to two things. One, reduced infant mortality, and also our improved healthcare, nutrition, and public health measures overall. But what it also means is there are more elderly because people are living longer, and that's a good thing. And but with it, what we also are finding is there has been a rapid increase in the amount of chronic disease that we have, and significantly, poor diet is the leading contributor to the rise in chronic disease. And there are 11 million, estimated 11 million premature deaths worldwide each year related to this rising chronic disease. And they also looked at the disability adjusted life years, and we have lost 255 million disability adjusted life years. So that is pretty significant. And so one of the things that I would like to see is we reduce our chronic disease. So this study looked at findings from two large cohort studies. They looked at the findings from the nurses' health study. They also looked at the findings from the health professionals' follow-up study. And they chose these because they are among the largest and the longest running cohort studies on diet and exercise. So that's where they're getting their data from. They do look at other studies that have happened and do comment on them, but their findings are coming from these two large, primarily from these two large cohort studies. Shall we dive in and look at their Okay, hang on now. Let me just go up. I'm missing a page here. Oh, there's the findings. I skipped by it. Okay, the findings from the study, just in general, we'll just skip to the findings. The first one is maintaining a healthy weight is pivotal to being able to, for longevity. Number two is specific food sources are more important than the quantity. So, and we're going to go through the food sources and how they impact the longevity. And certain dietary patterns are associated with healthy longevity, and also combining a healthy diet with other lifestyle factors can extend or could extend a disease-free life expectancies by 8 to 10 years. So, I mean, one of them is going to be exercise, but combining healthy diet with other lifestyle factors could extend your disease-free years by 8 to 10 years. That's a lot. So it pays to, I think it pays to be looking at a healthy lifestyle as you go forward. And part of it is understanding what a healthy lifestyle is, because there's lots of, I guess, ways that you can think of a healthy lifestyle. So it's really important, I think, for you to understand and come to terms or do a little bit of research yourself, or however you want to do it, but really understanding what a healthy lifestyle is. If I asked 100 people what healthy eating is, I would probably get 100 different answers. So really be clear on what healthy diet means and healthy lifestyle means. So the first one we're going to think that they looked at is calorie restriction and energy balance. So when they looked at calorie restriction, they found that calorie restriction was a promising approach to longevity, but it's very hard to measure because of on the long term. And there aren't any studies that have actually measured the calorie restriction on a long-term basis. So what they did instead is they looked at 5 body shape trajectories from the age of 5 to the age of 50 to come up with some percentages of how people might, how your I guess body shape from when you were small to when you were 50 would impact your life expectancy. And so when they did this, they have 5 groups, and also they looked at 5 different body types, but they also made the lean and stable body type the baseline. So they compared the other body types to the lean and stable. So the 5 body types are: you start off lean and you stay lean your whole life. The second one is that you start off lean and you have a moderate increase in your weight or your over over your lifetime to when you turn 50. The third type is you start off lean and you have a marked increase in your weight and your body type by the time you get to 50. The next one is you start off in a medium stature and you stay stable at a medium stature for, or you increase over your lifetime till you get to 50. And then the other one is you start off as with a heavy stature or body type, and you stay stable or you increase that body, you increase, I guess, probably your weight over time between age 5 and 50. And so, again, I just want to repeat that the starting point was looking at, or the everything is compared to the lean and stable, which was what they found to be the most promise. I guess the body type that will give you the highest longevity is the lean and stable. And so, for women, if you are start off lean and you increase moderately your body type or your probably your weight, you have your mortality risk goes to 1.08, which means you have an 8% higher risk of mortality than somebody who's lean and stable. And interestingly, for men, it was less. So men who gained weight or gained the in body type moderately had an increase, actually had a 5% higher chance of less mortality risk than the lean and stable group. So that's interesting. But all the other groups, the mortality risk increases relative to the lean and stable. So if you're lean, you were lean at 5 and you had a marked increase in your body type. As a woman, you have a 43% higher chance of mortality than if you stayed lean and stable. That's pretty significant. And for men, it was an 11% chance or increase in your mortality risk. And if you start off with a medium body type and you're either stable or you increase, women, it was a 4% increase in your mortality risk, and men was 1%. So that group is in a pretty good place, relatively speaking. And then those that start off heavy and either stay heavy or have an increase in their body type. The women, it was a 64% higher mortality risk. And for men, it was a 19% higher mortality risk. So that will give you an idea where it is. But their findings basically are that if you're lean and stable throughout your life, that is going to give you the best chance at for your longevity. So now at this point, I'm over 50, so I have no way to influence where I am relative to this, other than to either stay stable or really look at, weight is a big factor. Obesity is a big factor in mortality and your risk of chronic disease. So even though I'm over 50, I would still say that I have it's still worth my while, and I still have the opportunity to make sure that as I age, my body weight is more in what I would say my ideal weight versus being obese for my age. So, it's still worth your while to look at your weight. And I know that that's a big thing for a lot of people is, gaining weight as you get older. And so if we can look at our weight and trying to have a healthy weight, I think that's important. So I know we've talked about that before, and we'll probably do more discussions on weight as we go. All right, so that was the weight. That was the first thing they looked at. I just wanted I just put this here. I'm going to read this, but it's I didn't. It's something that came right from their study. In further analysis, even a modest amount of weight gain, example 5 kilograms during young and middle adulthood, which is 18 to 55, was associated with a significantly elevated risk of developing type 2 diabetes by 30%, hypertension by 14%, cardiovascular disease by 8%, obesity related cancer by 6%, and premature death by 5%. The amount of weight gain was also associated with 17% lower likelihood of achieving healthy aging, which is defined as being free from major chronic conditions and having no substantial cognitive, physical, or mental limitations after age 55. Moreover, individuals with a body mass index range of 18.5 to 22.5, combined with higher levels of physical activity and healthy diets, had the lowest mortality, suggesting that leanness induced by a healthy diet and lifestyle is optimal to promote longevity. I think that's kind of sums up what we were saying. So that's on the kind of your weight and your the weight side of things. And individuals who maintain a lifelong leanness through healthy diet and lifestyle practices tend to live longer and healthier lives, mimicking results one might expect from a long-term calorie restriction study, from long-term calorie restriction studies. So, and I think, this can be important if you have grandchildren, to make sure that they get off to a good start. One of the things, this unfortunate statistics that we're finding is there's more childhood obesity now than we've ever had before. And we talked a little bit about a lot of that comes from the processed foods that we're eating in our diet. And that's another side to it. I can't go back and be lean at 5 years old and stay lean my whole life because I'm past that. But I can try and help that for my kids and my grandchildren. So that's from our generationally, we can get that message out and help our future generations to get off to a good start. Okay, so then they looked at total and type of dietary fats. And I don't know that there's any surprise here. I don't think there's any surprise in any of this, but it's good to see the studies. At least I don't think there is, but I think it's good. So they looked at trans fats, saturated fats, monosaturated fats, and polyunsaturated fats. And I think monosaturated fat just means it comes from one source, if to know. And it's interesting, when I was looking that up, it always tried to change it to monounsaturated fat, which falls into that polyunsaturated fat group. So polyunsaturated fats typically will come from plant-based fats and fish fat. That's where that primarily you will see the polyunsaturated fats, and the saturated fats and trans fats are animal based. And you can see on this graph that they had in the study that as you have more fat, your chances for increased mortality increase if you're taking in saturated fats and trans fats versus the monosaturated fat and polyunsaturated fats. They actually had a decrease. So there's a big difference between those that are from, I guess, animal based versus plant based and fish based in this those. And here's what they found. Specifically, higher intakes of unsaturated fats found predominantly in plant-based foods and marine fish were associated with lower mortality risk, with linoleic acid exhibiting the strongest inverse relationship with mortality. On the other hand, higher intakes of trans fats and saturated fats were associated with increased mortality and adverse effects of trans fats substantially stronger than those of saturated fats. And I know that trans fats, I think here they've been banned. They're not allowed to have them in the foods that they're selling in the stores. That has already been a big thing. So hopefully we're not seeing a lot of trans fats anymore. The next thing was protein. And then I'm going to stop there and we're going to do the rest of the study tomorrow. So the type and food sources of protein was the next thing that they looked at. So higher animal protein intake is positively associated with cardiovascular mortality. And higher plant protein intake was inversely associated with all-cause and cardiovascular mortality. So if the more plants you're taking, the lower your all-cause and cardiovascular mortality risk. And replacing plant protein with or animal protein with plant protein was associated with a significantly lower risk of all-cause mortality. And if you increase your one serving of red meat a day, that will increase your risk of mortality by 13 to 20%. And if you replace one serving of red meat per day, that will reduce your risk of premature death by 7 to 19%. And those two, you notice they're a little bit different, risk of mortality versus premature death. But in both, I think it's good to note that if you can reduce how much red meat that you're taking in, you actually will lower your risk of premature death. And let me see. Once a day consumption of, so now we're on to the plant proteins, once a day consumption of nuts. And that also includes peanuts. Peanuts are not a nut, they're actually a legume, but they're categorized here. They have the same impact as nuts. So if you consume nuts once a day, that has a 20% lower death rate to those who rarely eat nuts. That's what they found in the study. And regular consumption of nuts can lower your risk for type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and some cancers. And habitual consumption of nuts also meant a lower risk of frailty. Now, and there's a whole metric for what frailty means. And, it's related to, I think, your a lot of different things. And I didn't write it down here, but there's it's definitely a real set. Like it's, they've defined what frailty means. But when you look at nuts, they're high in protein and they're also high in your omega-3 fatty acids and those uh, plant-based oils that and when you're taking in the nuts as a food, then your body has to digest and metabolize it, and that is a better way to take it in versus just having like a peanut oil or an olive oil. And I think we are going to stop there. We will look at carbohydrates as well. That's kind of cool, and some other things from the study tomorrow. We'll split it up. Any questions on what we covered so far?
I have one.
Yay!
You mentioned that certain types of the fats were no longer allowed to be in foods.
Yeah,
Is
the
that
trans fat
the
stuff.
trans fat? Is that everywhere, or is that just Canada?
I have no idea. I know
Okay.
here. I'm not. I think in the U.S. as well, but that's a good question. I can look into that.
Oh, thank you. I just
They
that just caught my attention because usually it's like they you can eat what you want even if it's not good for you. So
Yes,
that's and I think it's a good idea because I never would have thought that a couple years ago they changed the way that the menus are in the restaurants here, where they put the calories and things like
yeah.
that. And I didn't think it would make that big a difference, but it really made that big a difference. It really did. So I'm just wondering if that's for everyone.
Yeah, so I'll check. I know that on our food labels here in Canada, they do have trans fats and saturated fats listed out. When have looked at the labels recently, they are zero trans fats. And I know that was a big thing for the food manufacturers at one point, is actually saying no trans fats on the labeling. But I'll check into that. That's a really good question. And yeah, I mean, I have to say when we have here, they put the calorie count on the menu for in Canada here as well. And it does make you like really look twice at some of the foods that you're eating. And one time we were at a restaurant and we were waiting for the rest of our party to come, and it was a lunch, and it was a big menu, one of these places, that has a lot of different things on their menu. And so I was looking for what the highest calorie meat lunch was, and that's like without any drinks or anything else, right? Because people will a lot of times have a drink, a soft drink or something with it. It was close to 1,600 calories for it was fish and chips. And you think that's pretty close to your daily, like basically if you had breakfast and you have that lunch, you probably have already gone over your calorie, sort of the average calorie requirements for the day. Because they say for women, it's about 2,000 calories is kind of what they mark. And the thing is, everybody's different. But yeah, I think it's been a really good thing to see that it's really eye opening to look at what those calorie counts are. And I know, like we looked at calories, a calorie is a calorie, a calorie. It's not the best way necessarily to look at foods because, our stomach has these receptors and stuff to make us full. Um, but it does give a good indication for sure. I think it still has a place in kind of giving us guidance to what's the right foods to eat, for sure. Even though I'm not one to subscribe to counting calories, but it's good to have it in mind, right?
Yeah,
You eat
thank
a
you.
handful of nuts, you're going to have a lot of calories and a lot in that. And uh, there is, we have to be careful. We have to be mindful about what you're eating for sure. So I'll look that up for tomorrow. Sounds good. All right. Well, we are kind of halfway through looking at an actual study on longevity, and we will finish that off tomorrow. We're going to look at the quality and quantity of carbohydrates tomorrow, as well as a couple other things on that list. And if you're interested in the study, let me know and I will get you a copy. And we will be here tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And if you like what you see and you want more on longevity and other topics on nutrition and lifestyle, healthy lifestyle, then follow us for more. See you tomorrow. Bye, everyone.